Hello, welcome, Michelle. I'm so excited to host you today. We are going to absolutely dive into some serious sacred work based on what I know about Michelle, and I can't wait to see what she shares with us today. Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself for our listeners?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm so happy to be here, Bonnie, and thank you for having me as a guest on your show. My name is Michelle Wincell O'Leary, and I'm a former mental health therapist and healthcare and healing executive turned author and spiritual coach and guide. And I also teach energy tools as a partner in Mastering Alchemy, which is a coursework program that I've spent years working in and cultivating, and I've brought it all together as my sacred work in progress.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I'm really excited to learn more about the alchemy and the ideas around consciousness that you've shared. And I have one question though to open up here, which is, going from that traditional kind of therapy world into this more bridging that spiritual side of you. Like, what was that transition like? And just what all did that stir for you? If you could just tell us what that was like.
Yeah, sure. There's maybe two pieces that could be interesting to share. One is that I've always had that spiritual thread or that interest in intuitiveness and alternative ways of being. And when you work with people, there's the most important piece is to be non-judgmental and meet someone where they're at with what they bring. So whoever I meet is coming with their own set of beliefs anyway. And so to be open to work with people that have different belief systems is ultimately the most important part of the job, is to be able to build a therapeutic relationship with whatever someone brings to you. So I want to say that first because there's a thread that's been there. Um, and it built over time. So I used to train people in, for example, the four agreements and how to use the four agreements as a therapist or a leader or an executive or as a business. So I've had these threads. However, in 2023, when I concluded sort of my executive career that I've had for the last few decades and moved into my own business and graduated Mastering Alchemy, the course that I'm referring to, how I integrated that was I took a little road trip, airplane trip, for a few months and spent some time writing it down. And I worked with a book coach and I explored sort of how I did that from the perspective of blending in therapeutics and what I know about healing and healing environments. One of the biggest environments being our planet, the healing environment that we're living on, and how to incorporate all of that into a philosophy that I now provide through my own business. And it became a book series. So the first book behind me is Flow in the Present series, and it explores layers of energy therapeutically and with creative, co creative exercises and meditations to discover your own inner wisdom and become your own co creator in your life. And that's really my sweet spot, is like, I can meet you with more traditional therapeutic tools. We can explore energetic tools. We can explore how to become more conscious and also address individually what you're interested in pursuing in your life. Like, what's calling you? What are you remembering about? What do you want to integrate? How do you want to transform? What's the life you desire? That's how I work with people. And that's how I've integrated it.
Yeah, that is so fascinating to me. And I love that you named the four agreements and the way that you're blending these two worlds, I think is just so needed because I feel so many of us are finding that, these more traditional means of, going from point A to point B in life, business, whatever, that, those traditional methods are not holding like they used to. And so
Yeah,
many of us, I think, are seeking something else, some
yeah,
other, form of wisdom. And, for some of us are seeking it outside. And I think many of us are tuning in inward to find it. So I love that
absolutely.
you're acting as like this bridge for people to, and, connecting this more traditional method, I guess, with the spiritual side to just kind of like bring people inward like
Yeah.
that. I think that's just incredible.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. There's some great examples. One of the women that I connected with, who's worked with me for a while now, has been, in the traditional systems her whole life. She's retired, long career and all of that, and still, and had been on antidepressants, I'm sorry, anti-anxiety medications for decades, and they stopped working for her. And her therapist retired, and da 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 da. And she's like, what do I do? And we connected and started working together. And she actually took my course twice. And she's a member of the community that I facilitate now too. And we're all still a work in progress. We're all still learning. She's still learning. But she decided, what if I just went inward and remembered some things about myself and tried some new tools and see where they take me? And her transition is really remarkable. She herself would describe it as transformative. She's hearing things she's been waiting to hear for decades, and they're clicking. I
Mm,
don't need the medications. I just need to find the present moment and have my sense of myself to make decisions that make sense in the moment for me. She's like, it's that simple. It's like, it is that simple. It's not easy to
yeah,
discern
that's
that
the
all the
key there.
time. It takes practice, but there are tools that people can learn that help you access that present moment and discern all the options you have. Point A to point B is not a straight line. Point A to point B kind of goes like this,
Hmm.
or however you want it to go.
The spiral
Follow
staircase.
this,
Yeah,
follow this. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, I love that that you used anxiety as an example. My husband and I recently shared something that, or my husband shared with me something that he heard. I don't know, a reel that he stumbled into or whatever it was, but it was like depression is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future, and the key
Hmm,
is there to find that present moment. And it's such a
interesting.
simple way to look at it, but I feel like it rang so true. He was like very excited to share that with me, and yeah, when you mentioned her finding living in that present moment, yes, it's this easy, simple concept, but it's not easy to implement. It's not easy to like rewire.
Right.
Do you have any kind of examples to share on like how you kind of like bring people into that present moment or help, guide
Oh,
them there?
yeah. Yeah, a lot. And so many. I'll decide
Maybe
where
you
to
just want to
go.
share a favorite one or, yeah.
Well,
Sure.
one of the things I wanted to say about what you said. So, depression is living in the past. So, or anxiety is living in the future. I get what you mean, and I get what he means. And also, for me, one of the ways that I believe is that emotions live in the present moment because they're experienced now. So if you're drawing on the past, and if your past is depressing, then depression is still in the present because you feel it now, but the experiences are in the past. If you lived an anxious life, I had a lot of anxiety growing up. If you lived an anxious life, then those experiences are in the past. And if I were to recall them and still have anxiety about them, the anxiety would still be now. So the present moment is where the emotions are. The past is where the experiences are. So, one of the ways I work with people is to bring them into the present moment. That's done with a combination of energies. The three that I love the most that get me there the fastest, one is present, and we use our breath and intention and let that kind of settle in, and like things get quieter. There's not as much noise in your head, and the emotional charge over time reduces, and then your awareness shifts right into this present moment. So for you and me right now, I think you just moved. I think you can feel it. I feel
Yeah,
it.
I did. I was like, because as you were saying that, I was kind of like, I brought myself into the breath and I was thinking to myself, yes, as soon as you put that focus into something present, like the breath, right? And I felt like a
Yep.
shift, like I was a little bit more like tuned in, even.
Yeah. Yeah. So I practice that with people and help them experience it and notice the experience so that they build references to be able to do that when we're not together. So when they're on their own, they're like, oh, yeah, let me try that breathing and my intention and my awareness and let it get quiet and notice that I'm right here and like be aware of what's around me and be aware of what's in me to notice in the moment, what are my options? I can overreact to something or not. In the moment of quiet, I can kind of let it go and explore what I'd like to do about it. And sometimes not engaging with something that you normally react to, that normally makes you feel anxious, depressed, angry, what have you, you don't have to choose that. You can actually enjoy your experience and find a new way to respond that's in alignment with how you would like to have your experience. You can stay neutral and just
Yeah.
observe it and go, oh, yeah, that's that thing that I used to react to that I don't react to anymore. And that's almost amusing. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
like
believe I
I'm
used to
like
do that
major
all the time.
growth moment. Major
Yeah.
growth moment when you can pull back and kind of say, okay, do I respond? Do I not? Do I respond right now? Do I wait? Do I, that, yeah, a little
Pause.
maturity there for sure.
So it's a
Yeah.
matter of how you manage the present moment. And there's a lot more to it, but that's a really good example of how people kind of move into like, oh, whoa, like this is totally a different way to just move through life.
Yeah.
And that's becoming conscious of unconscious because you
Yeah.
can see how you used to be, but in the moment, that's not who you are anymore. Now you're right here, and right here is different.
Yeah.
And
Love
responding is
that.
different than reacting. Reacting is just reacting. It's not well thought out. It's behavioral and habitual and emotional. And right here is a choice in what to do, as you said, or not do. The other thing in terms of observing that is you can be witness for other people. I get a lot, and you may too, a lot of other people that want to share with me. And I engage as a witness to what they're experiencing without engaging in it myself. I don't need to. Therapists are trained to, walk in someone's shoes, for example, meaning to experience what they're experiencing so you understand it. That's not how I would ever train anyone to become a therapist. It's more the witness to what someone else is experiencing and saying to yourself, I know what sadness is. I don't need to experience your sadness to understand it. I'm a witness to it, and I can speak to it from neutral without getting sad with you in order to express it or feel your sadness. Two different experiences. It's a little more nuanced, but
Yeah.
it's a useful thing for anyone in the field of working with other people to realize that you're not just absorbing other people's emotions into your space energetically as you carry it
Yeah.
with you. It absorbs into you in your space.
Yeah. I consider myself an empath, and I mean, I really have to be careful to keep that kind of my bubble up. I call it my bubble, like, because it
Yeah.
just, I feel so easily penetrated by the aura of another person sometimes if it's something strong or like a strong emotion. Do you have any insight for anyone who might be feeling also quite sensitive to the energy of others, how to kind of like keep it clean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few things. We already talked about the breath. Number
Hmm.
one, be aware because you hold your breath and then you're not really engaged with yourself. You're really engaged with them. You've disconnected from you to jump over there with them.
Mm.
So stay here, stay in your space. And then there's a tool called the rose. It's a very simple tool and it's used in a lot of different ways. But everyone knows what a rose looks like. If you imagine a rose and kind of hold it out in front of your space and see it, and you said your bubble, like put it right at the edge of your bubble and just let it be there. The rose kind of helps you discern where your space from your heart to about an arm's length out, like where your space is. The rose kind of shows you this is yours. So you stay centered in your space behind your rose and recognize everything on the other side of that rose isn't yours. And it's not about you either. You're witnessing what's happening with other people, but it's not yours. you stay where you are in the energies that you've set for yourself. If you have, if you've called in, for example, the energy of clear and the energy of calm or the energy of peace, like you stay where you are, but you see that what's happening on the other side is what's happening for other people. And then you decide how you engage or don't engage with what's happening on the other side, because it's not about you. You might just need to be there for someone. You actually don't always need to do anything about it other than just witness and be present.
Yeah,
Now,
that
the
presence
rose,
is powerful.
yeah, I want to just say specifically to that, the rose can be used for other things too. So you can call up, you leave that rose kind of right where it is to help you see where you are and know where your space is as you move around the world. But the rose, you can also call up another rose and we can ask the rose to collect up any energies in your field that don't belong to you or don't align with you. And you just say, Rose, I'm asking you, collect up energies in my space that don't align with me or don't belong to me, and like give it 10, 20 seconds to do its job. And then imagine you just send the rose outside of your space and explode the rose. And it essentially clears your space of whatever was left in the experiences you might have had with other people that you're carrying with you that you might not even be aware of, or you might be aware of. You ever have those moments where you're like, why am I sad? Like I've had a good day. Why am I all of a sudden sad? And I go, oh, not mine. I was with some sadness that isn't mine, that is in my space, and I clear it out and let it go.
Yeah, I love, love, love that you're using this rose example. I have this undeniable, like, strong connection and draw to the rose, and I've painted them endlessly and written several blog posts about the energy of the rose and the frequency of the rose. And like, I am like just delighted that you're sharing it in this way here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that kept coming to my mind as you were sharing, these different ways to bring yourself into the present moment, to like collect yourself and to know what's yours, etc. Really, to me, it like seems you really have to have that conscious awareness. Like so much of it comes to consciousness, and I was hoping you could share some
Yeah.
on, how you would maybe define consciousness, and just anything you feel called to share on the idea of that.
Sure, sure. It's really, for me, it's the most important thing I've learned, period, ever in my life. Because a few things. Through experience with consciousness, as I mentioned, the first layer is becoming conscious of how you're unconscious. Because that's the first step of going, oh, I just started overreacting. Take a breath. Like just, right, get in your own space again and go, okay, sorry, I was not aware that what I was just engaging with might trigger you. And it certainly isn't actually how I feel. I was just reacting unconsciously in a moment. Now I'm aware of myself again. And I'm going to make a more conscious choice to not get engaged in things I actually don't want to be engaged with. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to be upset with other people. I don't want to say things that trigger other people. Um, I'm not interested in being anxious or afraid right now. Like, what is there to be afraid of in this moment? Once I'm conscious, like, what is there actually to be afraid of? It's just a moment right now that has an opportunity to make a choice. And I'm not going to choose fear and doubt and judgment. I'm going to choose, well, that's interesting. Huh. I don't know what I want to do with that, but that's interesting. The other piece about consciousness is then you start to become conscious that you're being conscious, aware that you're being aware. And in that, you open up the opportunity to become more conscious of more things about your inner self and how it's reflected on the outside, whether it's like my life shifted. The more I'm in alignment with what feels right to me in my heart, in my conscious awareness, the more my life shifted to align with me, not the other way around. I'm not aligning with life. Life is aligning with me because I'm consciously aware of how I would like to be. And I'm being that. I'm embodying what I would like to be. I'm choosing in alignment with what feels good to me. And I'm not worrying about the rest because that wasn't conscious anyway. And it's not real. What's real is me and my alignment in the moment. I don't know if that is what you were looking for. I have so many examples.
I mean, I do think that helps. And I feel like for me, that brings me into that space of, like, we talked briefly earlier about the idea of like alchemy. And so then with that awareness, then you open up the door to alchemize
Yes.
whatever, you're working to overcome or work past or, embody or whatever that is, right? Is that?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, I'm involved in a program, a coursework. I started studying in 2011 and I graduated in 2023. And I'm now a partner with Mastering Alchemy. And it's an
Mm.
online coursework in becoming conscious. And the concepts are that in becoming conscious, you're able to change the frequency of your thinking. So instead of unconscious thinking or rigid, harsh, emotional thinking from the past, which is how most people live, avoiding things, resisting things, pushing, power over, all of that stuff. Instead of that, in raising the frequency of your thinking, in being more conscious, then you have the opportunity to shift. This is going to sound interesting, perhaps, shift the harmonics of matter, which means shift how to stay balanced in the present conscious moment and to shape how your life unfolds. Because in your alignment, as I said, what happens is life aligns around you. You're shaping it. If you would like your life to be in ease and in joy and in peace, or whatever way you would like it to be, the more you consciously, through your breath and your presence and your awareness and your attention and your focus, the more you embody what you would like, the more the alignment in you shifts to that. And therefore, the opportunities that you notice relate to your alignments. And there's a lot. You asked me a question. I'm like, well, there's about 800,000 options on what I could say. But
Yeah.
in this moment, what aligns because of how you and I are talking is this. And I choose to share this part, for
Yeah.
example. So, Mastering Alchemy has different layers. There's the essential energetics, just like a starter class to like just try it out and just see what you think. Learn some basic tools that you can take into your everyday life. And I also teach a version of those tools in a different format online virtually in a 5-week course. And it's called Your Energy, Your Way. And what it is it's a way to recognize what is your way. If we were to talk about what are the strengths and values and beliefs and desires you hold, I can help personalize with you, co create with you different tools and strategies to help you build some awareness of how you can shape your own energies and get in touch with yourself and your consciousness and make choices in the present moment for yourself. So, Mastering Alchemy does a longer version of that, which is also very useful. I've done all of their coursework and I continue in the mastery level with them. And their coursework goes beyond that. So, there's 5 layers, and it's really in depth learning from the co creators that are in the angelic realm or other realms about how to like really learn to release. When you're talking about your husband talking about depression is in the past, how to release the emotions related to your past thinking so that you can still remember your past if that's your choice, but you don't have to assign the depression or the other emotions to it. So there's a way to go through that to hold on to what feels valuable and important and release what is done. It's complete.
Yeah.
You don't want to hang on to it
I have a
anymore.
question.
Yeah.
As you say that, and you're kind of, it almost sounds like compartmentalizing, but I'm sure it's not exactly that. So I don't know if you could maybe speak to how it's different than
Yeah.
compartmentalizing those emotions.
Thank you. That's a perfect definition of alchemy. Yeah. So alchemy in everyday terms means you transform from one form to another form. So if you transition an experience that was upsetting to an experience that no longer feels upsetting, it's just a memory, and you might just want to let it go and not give it any more attention. When you stop giving attention to things that you've changed the form of, that you no longer are distressed about, and just let it go, like the rose, it's out of your field. It's not compartmentalized, hanging out in your field to come up again someday. You've completed it. It's ready to go. You don't need it anymore. So it's not still residing in your energetic space at that point. Now, if you want to call up the memory, you can. If you want to go, oh, I'm sad again. I wonder if that's related to that event again. If you want to go down there, you'll bring it back. You can attract it back. Or you can go, oh, there's that again. Yep, I'm complete with that. Thanks anyway. I'm going to stay where I am, and I've got other intentions that I'm holding and where I'm paying attention to. So the compartmentalization goes away because it's not there anymore. But it's a process of learning how to recognize all of the patterns and all of the threads in our experience, of which there are so many, personally, in our families, our relationships, and our lineage, our history. We have all those threads in our system to explore, which is why Mastering Alchemy, it's at least, I mean, for me, it took years, and it took attention and focus on recognizing the pieces that I find I want to hold because they mean something to me and they're valuable. And I learned important things that I want to hold on to. But then releasing that I don't need to keep re-experiencing this. I don't need to keep coming in contact with experiences to show me learning that I've already learned. I've learned it. I'm good.
I have two thoughts. One of them is that, when you speak of, this idea that it may kind of come back up because something is sort of like, comes into your sphere, or it's a remembrance somehow, it sparks something. It a little bit sounds like how I perceive boundaries, which are these things that we have to continue to uphold. So it's like, we can choose and set the intention to lay something to rest, but then if, it shows up again, this person calls or whatever that looks like, it's that boundary that needs to continue to be set to ensure that you're moving forward. Would you say
I
that's
hear
true? Does
you.
that, like, connect for you?
It does. And here's the way I would shift the language is that the boundary for me is the rose and me being conscious in the center of my space and my desired intentions. So when that comes up again, there's a few things I'll consider. Is it coming up for a reason? Like I thought I let it go, but maybe I really didn't completely let it go. And if that's the case, maybe I want to let it go again and, go, oh, this is coming up again because I'm not completely done. I never actually closed that chapter, for example. So I might recognize, oh, that's coming up again. Okay, well, let's clear that out again. And anything that's left over in my field that I never really cleared that's coming up again, thank you. I've learned my lesson on that. I understand it and I let it go again. And it comes up neutrally. I stay neutral about it. I don't get upset about it again. I don't get mad that it's here again. And I don't even ask why. What is this? Why is this here again? I can't believe this is here again. As soon as you do that, you're back in it. So if I stay neutral and just go, oh, that's interesting, back to that. That's interesting. It's here again. Well, I'd like to let it go again and I'd like to release it again. There isn't a value, or if there is, I'm going to stay in the lane that's the value add part of it. And the rest of it, again, I don't need to react to that coming up again. But for
Yeah.
me, again, that boundary, and it's not a boundary, it's recognizing my space. In my space, things are going to keep coming in until they're actually cleared out. we're very layered. So you might have released a layer, but now another layer, and then now another layer. We have a lot of interconnected layers to let go of, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
fine. That's just what we do. Let it go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The layers there. Yeah. So my other thought was, I have a lot of listeners probably who are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have any kind of example or maybe like a personal, reflection that you could share that of like how you related this to your business life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. So I'll say a few things about it. It's an intentional process to become an entrepreneur. It's not, it's, you have to pay attention to what your purpose is, what your mission is, like all businesses. But when it's your own, for me, I set personal energetic alignments for my business. How do I want my business to flow? Who are the individuals that align up with what I'm offering that makes sense for me to be engaged with? What are the activities of my entrepreneurial business that I'm aligned with and enjoy? That's what I'm going to do. For me, I'm aware consciously of what I would call my higher purpose. I sort of understand how I best impact the world and others, and that's what I'm engaged with. I'm not overextending and taking on things just, I mean, we have opportunities and distractions all the time. You want to do this? You can do this. I mean, there's ads everywhere, distractions everywhere. I
Yeah.
try not to go down rabbit holes that feel noisy or not connected because generally it's taking me off course. My attention isn't on my alignment and what makes sense for me. My attention is grabbed by something else and I'm gone. Here again, I leave my space and go to someone else's space. And that's not my mission, that's their mission. So I'm maintaining awareness of that. And also for me, and I know you and I talked about this before we started recording, I really spent time integrating um, all of the things I have learned in the world of consciousness and energies and transformations, and also the therapeutic and even the executive parts of my career. I'm naturally um, a co creator. The words for that in other times would be a collaborator, or, I've worked with a lot of other people and I'm aware of how I align with other people so that it feels co creative. There's mutual benefit. There's not power over, it's not pressured, it's enjoyable, and we're creating something meaningful. So I don't know if that's useful, but for
Yeah.
me, I'm drawing on my own experience, but in a more conscious way. I guess that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
And I trust that is leading me. It's allowing those kinds of opportunities and experiences to come in to my life without pushing. It's I'm choosing to do it in ease and in enjoyment and meeting people like you and connecting with audiences that are sacred works in progress themselves. Like, yeah, those, I have something to offer here. It makes sense because it's aligned here. That's my
Yeah.
style of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was really helpful. I enjoyed that kind of tidbit and insight into how you're approaching it from this lens. And I'm trying to be conscious of time, but I have one more question
Yeah.
for you that just
Okay.
is burning up because based on what you shared there, which was, you spoke to what you believe your purpose is, and I wondered if you could just touch on that briefly, how you came
Yeah.
to that understanding, or just how that
Yeah.
developed for you.
Yeah. Um, I'll say that in my life, I've always tried to make choices about where to spend my time, work being such a large part of our experience, so that it felt meaningful. And if it didn't feel meaningful, I didn't last within it. And so I've always known that piece. I found working with other people and other systems, and even as a collaborator, an executive, a business person, that how the relationships that I was engaged with transformed through our experience was a part of what I'm good at. I'm good at connecting with people on multiple layers and levels and in my higher conscious work that I've done, I'm aware that I'm interconnected, as many of us are, in how we are transforming our experience as humans and how we are transforming our experience on this planet that's going through a lot of change. So I'm interconnected, and I have been for a while, on the evolution of humanity to be as broad as possible. My
Mm-hmm.
aim of my business, which is called Spirit of Therapy, is to amplify well being for all, which is broad intentionally because I get to create the opportunities where I get to engage and amplify well being for people, whether that's assisting in an individual or a group or, a business or an audience or a book, all the ways I get to do that. And I also engage through Mastering Alchemy, and I have for years in a conscious collective process of using our imagination and our conscious experience of our planet and interconnected with humanity to change how we connect with nature and how nature connects with us. So, in my alignment, and I live immersed on the water on a boat in nature, and I notice all the reflections of nature around me that feel aligned. And I understand that my alignment is enhancing what's happening around me in nature, not just in work or in life. That is part of life, but I'm aware of that interconnection with Earth. And I connect with other people around the globe consciously to improve how we are experiencing our planet and each other. So we evolve from all these broken systems that don't work anymore and move into, if you want to call it, we've lived the third dimensional linear life. We know what that is: past, present, future, then you die. That's linear life. Higher dimensional life in well being doesn't have that straight line linear sense. It has an energetic, conscious flow, hence Flow in the Present as my book. And in that flow, we can shift our experience as individuals, as groups and collective communities, as humanity is shifting, which you'll notice all over the place if that's what you're aligned with, and as a planet. We can tell that the environment is shifting. Obviously, Gaia's not exactly the same. Our
For
weather's
those who have
different.
eyes to see.
Yeah, everything's shifting. So I'm engaged in my higher purpose that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really love that. It seems like this just really deep inner knowing. Just this inner knowing, and like when you take that next right step and it feels like a yes, and and you just have this, confirmation, because the universe is then like co-creating with you and, carving the path with you and opening the doors and all of that. I think that I always come back to the idea that easy is right on some level. Like where, when the when the path clears for you, when you are not meeting resistance, it's like, yes, you are on the right path.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
so
you so
well
much,
said.
Michelle. I do want you to have a moment to at least let people know where they can find you, and I will drop it in the show notes. But if there's anything
Okay.
else you'd love to share, and yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I'll say this. So I'm on all the social medias as Michelle Wincell O'Leary, which you'll have in the notes, and it's also shown right here. You can find my book on Amazon, Kindle, Apple Books, Barnes and Noble, wherever bookstores. And so you can find that. My website is spiritoftherapyllc.net, and you can have that link below as well. So those are all ways to find me, in addition to Linktree, / Michelle Wincell O'Leary. So all my links are there too. So yeah,
Awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation, Michelle, and I have no doubt the listeners will too. Thank you so very much for joining me today.
yeah, I loved being here. And before we part, I want to say one thing. If there are folks in your audience that are interested in participating virtually in my 5-week course, Your Energy Your Way, I will honor a 25% discount on anyone that reaches out and says that they're connected with your show
Awesome.
also.
We
Yeah.
will drop that in the notes too then. Awesome.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate it.